Well, hey there, Bronco fans. It's Chris, it's Shad, it's Danny. This is Bronco Planet, and this, my friends, is Raider Week. Already feel the anger, Chris. Let's hear it. I want to hear it. Earlier in the season, I know you had talked up the Raiders a little bit. They're coming off a huge win against Pittsburgh. What's Denver got to do to win this game?
Run the ball. They've got to establish. You look at it, and I know they lost the Atlanta game, but McGahee, he had a nice game. I think everyone we've talked to, among the three of us, we've talked, if they get one more possession out of that Atlanta game, they win the game. Okay, and what did we not do in this most recent loss to Houston is run the ball, and they got behind so far so early that they pretty much had to abandon the running game. They've got to run the ball, but I think what we need to see out of them is I'd like to see them. They've got to get the ball. They've got to A, run the ball, but B, we've got to stretch the defense. We've got to attempt long passes down the field earlier in the game and not wait till you're down by 21 points.
Yeah, I agree at the fact that it's nice to establish a run, but if you're behind, quit running the freaking football, all right? Running's nice. If you can establish that, feels good. But sometimes you got to pass, stretch it out like you're saying, then run. So I don't know. It's the Raiders. I just hope we kick them right in the freaking teeth.
There you go. Well, I tell you what, the one thing that we didn't talk a little bit about last week, because we've been actually giving kudos for the first two games, was the offensive line. Yeah. Houston made our offensive line look a little bad. We sent out some special get well soon cards to Chris Cooper because Manny Ramirez obviously struggling quite a bit. The Raiders are bringing in a guy like Richard Seymour.
Yeah, and J.J. Watts was a guy going up against Ramirez.
Yeah,
and that's
second-year guy.
That's a matchup that just is never going to work out in your favor. So, I'm not surprised with that. But what do you think, Danny, that Broncos need to do to stick it to Dennis Allen, who abandoned our Broncos and moved on?
Well, I tell you what, first things first, I think whatever the play call is on defense, the safeties stay back. Let's not bite on the play action and have Tracy Porter was made the scapegoat this past weekend against Houston. Let's be honest. These cornerbacks are supposed to be covering the edges, not down the deep middle. And of course, when the camera pans to it, all you see is Tracy Porter chasing a guy where obviously a safety is supposed to be.
Deep
exactly. I think first and foremost, let's fix that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. All right, forget all that for just a minute.
Okay.
Since it's Raider Week, I think it's important that we talk about something that you hate about the Raiders. Then maybe I'd feel a little bit better. Chris, any memory that you have, or why do you despise those Raiders so much?
I think most of it, it's a yin and a yang. It's a two-part thing for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, Al Davis was just the biggest clown, and I hate to speak ill of the dead. But what in the world was the deal with that guy?
Right.
And the other thing is that clown out there with the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
The whole black hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, that's what you've got. I mean, we love the Broncos. We also have jobs. That's the great thing. I was watching that Steelers game, and I'm like, well, there's your 8% unemployment. They're Raiders fans.
No,
get jobs, some of you guys.
No, never a great crowd there, Raider games. Here's what I hate about the Raiders. It started with, Madden, right? I mean, Madden was obnoxious, in-your-face kind of guy, and the Broncos, back in those days would struggle against them, and so you would hate them because they'd take it to us. But then during our decade, I call our decade, the 80s, Broncos started winning a lot of those games, and then carry that on. Lester Hayes, with all that stickum and gouging Vance Johnson eyes, and just the whole mentality of, undisciplined, reckless, crazy fans, crazy players, just hate the Raiders from the core, and I think most Bronco fans do. Danny, what about you?
My hatred, I think, actually spawns a little bit from jealousy. I like a team that doesn't care. I like a team that doesn't play by the rules. I like a team that's going to gouge you, bite you, smack you, punch you in the chops. And again, when you talk about our generation, that has kind of faded a little bit in the distance for the Raiders. Obviously, Al Davis no longer with us. They talk about clowns. At least his son have pretty much slid right into that. So, there's so many things to hate. And honestly, they hate us for every reason that we hate them. But it makes that rivalry even so much sweeter. And the fact that we get to play these guys twice a year, it's a team you love to hate. Darth Vader has to have his, when you talk about your yin and your yang, that's what they are, and I just can't wait. I love Raider Week.
Yeah, and you cannot afford, and here's where coaches get in trouble, right? Things started going south a few years ago when the Broncos got embarrassed at home against the
Monday
Raiders.
night opening, yep.
You
last year.
cannot lose to the Raiders at home. It's just not going to happen if you want to stay employed with the Denver Broncos. I don't care how many beers you have with John Elway. It's just the fan base is not going to put up with that crap.
Well, you can't. And again, I'll go back to the same. I don't know a lot about football. But when Rich Gannon completed like 65 passes in that one Monday night game, something's wrong. Something on the defense
That's not a very
broken.
good team.
Right.
Which just goes to show we've had the secondary problem for a long time. Except, Champ, because we love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on. What do we got coming up?
I think coming up, we got a heck of a game on our hands, and you guys need to tune in. We're going to be giving away more prizes.
Prize monkey.
And I tell you what, though, we've told you not to panic. But if we lose this game to the Raiders at home, it is time to panic. Hit the panic button.
I don't think he still hit the panic button again, just because of what we've seen so far. It just depends upon the type of game that Denver loses. Should they lose? Did they lose to? Listen to what I'm saying. Did they lose to Houston in a blowout? Did they lose to Atlanta in a blowout? No. The defense did kind of rise up. They were allowing threes instead of sevens. They hung around the fourth quarter, just ran out of time. If Denver does well, I think it's a good stepping stone. When you talk about the strength of schedule, I think the hard part, the first 60-70% of the hard part, obviously we still have New England coming up down the road and New Orleans, which that's a whole nother catastrophe right now for them. But I think this is the time where you start to get right for Denver.
Yeah.
Panic button.
With that said, we'll see you post Raiders, and we hope you have a great week. And thanks for watching right here at Bronco Planet.
Gouge your eyes out.